medium enterprises driving Ghana's jobs and growth, we explore challenges facing entrepreneurs as they battle to keep dreams alive.
Welcome once again to Weekend Central. We start from here. Now, thousands of young people in Togo have, over the last few days, been protesting on the streets demanding the resignation of President Faure Gnassingbé, whose family has ruled the country for nearly 4 decades. While the protests ruled by frustrations over the economic hardship, political repression, and lack of democratic reforms are the most significant challenge of the President Faure Gnassingbé's regime in recent years. While the government calls the protests illegal, claiming they threaten public order, authorities have responded to the protests with a heavy security clampdown, while human rights organizations have condemned the excessive use of force by the security, calling for dialogue and respect for peaceful assembly. In a statement released on June 28, the National Alliance for Change, that's the opposition party, saluted the courage of Togolese youth and condemned what it called the blind repression of peaceful protests by the regime. While the protests fueled by frustrations over economic hardship, political repression, and lack of democratic reforms are the most significant challenge to the President Faure Gnassingbé's regime in recent years. Edo Komi is a chairman of the Martin Luther King movement and spoke on News 360 about the protests so far.
Recent protests in Togo, sparked by constitutional changes approved in April 2024, reflect deep public frustration with a shift to a parliament system that critics argue could extend President Faure Gnassingbé rule indefinitely. So protests can be a powerful tool for expressing, as you know, to dissent and pushing for accountability, especially when citizens feel excluded from a decision as seen in Togo when the opposition called this constitutional coup d'etat. Right. So, however, you know that the youth, actually, let's say that the youth in general from Togo and the diaspora, they are working hard for this demonstration. But you remember that since 2020, there was a ban. There was a ban on demonstrations since 2020. Yes. And then there was a violent crackdown like those in June 2025. So, assuming that now, not the political parties are not leading these demonstrations, but the youth in general. Well, that is the problem. But let's say the youth, they say they're hungry, they are jobless, they don't, you know, that social injustice, and then so on and so on. So they think that they are not. The government is not hearing them. Is not taking care of them. And this is 20 years governed by the, reign of Faure Gnassingbé. Right. So this is very special for Togo, but those days is very special because sometimes ago, that was the call from the opposition leaders to protest. But now they are the youth, and then they ask for the welfare. They want to live well. They want to have job. Right. They want to, to be considered as no. They want the Faure Gnassingbé to get down, right. But they also want that the Togo should be governed by the democracy. Right.
Well, Adabra Yaw is a member of the Togolese diaspora in Ghana. He joins me right here in studio for more details on this. Adabra, now you have been in Ghana for a while now. What have you been hearing about the protests in Togo?
The whole issue started, that was on the 26th, you know, that was on a Friday.
Right.
Yeah. And there have been a lot of problems in the country. The government have been so bad in their process of, you know, attacking the civilians on the street. By doing so, they have injured a lot of people. And there'll be a lot of casualties also, you know. It's a very bad incident that I've witnessed on the social media. All over the world, people have been testifying on the bad governance of the regime.
And what are your personal thoughts about President Faure Gnassingbe's regime? Do you think are you part of those who think he should be ousted from office?
You know, for time immemorial, we are just, you know, experiencing father to son government, which has been a problem in the South region. Everybody is aware of it, you know. We are talking about democratic country. Togo is not a democratic country. How come a father will rule for 38 good years and the son also take over for 20 good years now? Can we call that country a democratic country? No. So to me personally, it doesn't have any legal right to be in the country. So to me, I think it's a time for the military to take over peacefully, to avoid innocent people being killed on the streets. No, it's not advisable. That's what I can say personally.
We've seen on social media videos of people being injured, others being beaten. Do you personally know any of these victims so far? What have you been hearing, basically?
To be frank with you, I've seen a lot of victims on the social media. To tell you that I know them personally, no. But it does not sound well for a democratic country, Togo, as they are calling themselves. And those things have been happening in the country. People are being killed. No. I don't know anybody personally to say, but, you know, it doesn't sound well from the dynasty.
Right. And what's your call on the international bodies, for instance, ECOWAS, that's the Economic Community of West African States. What's your call on them at this particular time and in this situation?
At this particular time, I think there's a time for ECOWAS, you know, to come in, to hold the fort, because they have been supporting the dynasty for quite a long time during the father's regime. They are also doing the same thing. So the ECOWAS is looking more or less as a white elephant institution that is not, you know, assuming their responsibility. So I'm now calling on the leaders of the ECOWAS to come in to solve the issue amicably. If that may not be the case, the youth will take on the streets and they are going to take the law into their hands, just like the way the military are taking the law into their hands. The military, that's their duty to come in to save the situation, but not to back the dynasty because they are being paid by the taxpayers' money, but after all, for the security of the citizens, but not to come and support the dynasty.
So you say ECOWAS has not been helpful?
No. ECOWAS has been there for quite a long time, and they know what is going on. All this happening now is not a news to them. They are aware. And they have been supporting the dynasty to do more. Because ECOWAS is being instrumentalized by the Western powers, especially France and America. They are behind all these things. So this is the duty of the ECOWAS. And I don't know the reason why four have to be presented during the ECOWAS meeting again. No. If they are giving me the opportunity, they are encouraging him, there must be sanctions now on the country.
Right.
There must be sanctions on the country.
And lastly, before you go, do you think that this is going anywhere? We've seen the protests, we've seen the brutality of the citizens. Do you think that you as citizens will be able to achieve your aim of ousting President Faure out of office through these protests you've been organizing?
This protest keep on coming on and on. It started even in 1990. And what I want you to understand is that the ECOWAS is there to back the regime.
Right.
Even before this one, the recent one before this one, the ECOWAS came in. That was in 2017. There was the same thing. There was a manifestation all over. So the ECOWAS came in just to call them for dialogue. And during the dialogue, they succeeded in dribbling against the opposition.
Right.
Yeah. So the ECOWAS, they keep on supporting the dynasty. That's what I can say.
Well, many thanks for your time. We're hoping that they get the kind of respite they want as citizens right there in Togo. But of course, I've been speaking to Adabra Yaw. He is part of the Togolese diaspora right here in Ghana. He has been speaking to us, of course, about the issues in Togo as regards to the protests to try and oust the president, Faure Gnassingbe, out of office.
Well, in more news this afternoon, in a world weighed down by economic hardship and global anxiety, a new form of defiance is rising, one meme at a time. LC Ado reports that Ghana's Gen Z are extending humor into resistance, using memes not to escape reality, but to survive it.
The Israel-Iran war may seem distant, but for some young Ghanaians, the anxiety is real. From fears of global conflict to rising oil prices. And yet, this is how it often starts. One scroll, one meme, one breath of relief. In a chaotic world, Ghana's Gen Z is choosing laughter not out of ignorance, but as a way to survive. They have inherited a world of rising costs, mounting tensions, and collapsing certainty. But instead of retreating, they are responding with memes. Twitter influencer Accra Mayo shared what inspires his posts.
When I logged into the app, I saw people tweeting for fun. So I told myself I can do the same thing. I can do something similar to what they are doing and do it better. So that was how I started. Ghana actually has a little bit of, I don't know how to term it, but hardship. So we as Gen Z, as some of our elders would say, we actually not serious when it comes to those issues. So we actually create it for fun, so we can able to just get our mind out of those issues, just to help us move on in things.
From X to TikTok, young Ghanaians are transforming global fear into comic gold. But it is not just for likes, it is a coping mechanism.
The youth value social justice and they value their mental health. And so any one of them they think is not being or haven't been treated fairly or has experienced some injustice, they will fight for the person. So because they value their mental health, they will not take and accept anything that would really stress them. And so they will look for ways to ease the stress. It is who they are. The thing that you consider very serious and you think is stressing you, they'll just make a fun out of it, just to lighten. It's a coping mechanism.
Even in their humor, their passion for justice shines through. Some use satire to call out inequality, climate crisis, and economic hardship without losing their spark. In a world constantly on edge, Ghana's Gen Z is rewriting the scripts, choosing laughter even in uncertainty.
Now, information we are getting is that the Divisional Executive Council of the Public Services Workers Union, PSWU, of the National Identification Authority, NIA, has called off its indefinite strike. While on Tuesday, June 24, 2025, the Divisional Executive Council of the Public Services Workers Union of the National Identification Authority declared an indefinite strike. Well, the strike, the union says, was over the Ministry of Finance's failure to provide a definitive commitment or timeline regarding the payment of the operational support allowance. But on Friday, June 27, the National Labour Commission, that's the NLC, ruled that the ongoing strike by workers of the National Identification Authority is procedurally flawed.
And now the Office of the Special Prosecutor has announced that it will host a session with the public on X Space on June 29, that's today. The notice was posted on the social media pages of the OSP on June 28th, yesterday. The caption that accompanied the post requested the public to join us for an open conversation on X. Bring your questions, concerns, criticisms, even your anger. Transparency begins with dialogue. Let's fight corruption together in the open. The Special Prosecutor Kisi Jabin has been in the news lately over corruption and corruption-related cases it is investigating. Key among these cases is the Ghana Revenue Authority and Strategic Mobilization Limited SML deal. In this regard, the OSP has recently arrested some past officials of the GRA. On June 25, the OSP announced that it has arrested Reverend Dr. Emisha Dayosu Amoa, former Commissioner General of the GRA, Isaac Krentel, ex-Commissioner of Customs and now General Manager at Strategic Mobilization Limited SML, and Christian Tete Soti, former Technical Advisor and now MD and CEO of SML. In a statement, the OSP said that the arrests were linked to ongoing investigations into suspected corruption and corruption-related offences in respect of contracts between the GRA and SML for revenue assurance services.
Now, for over a century, the Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital has provided dedicated pediatric care in the country. But now the hospital is struggling to continue its mission due to its deteriorating condition. Osara Penko visited the hospital and has filed this report.
So this particular building is the first structure that was put up 100 years ago to offer services here at the Princess Marie Children's Hospital. It occupies the kitchen, the administrative area, as well as some wards currently.
The Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital, also known as the Children's Hospital in Accra, has been a cornerstone of pediatric care in Ghana since its inception in 1926. Located in the heart of Accra's Central Business District, the hospital has been a beacon of hope for countless children and families. However, despite its rich history and long-standing dedication to child health care, the hospital's infrastructure has deteriorated significantly. Parts of the building, including the wards, have developed visible cracks with exposed iron rods on pillars, posing a threat to the safety of both staff and patients. The facility is yet to undergo any major renovation, despite its worsening condition.
And it's dangerous, and I'm afraid. All if you go there, sometimes I get afraid, you know. So we need urgent renovation on this hospital so that we can give better service. Because I'm just afraid anytime I go there and I see the condition, more has to be done to help this hospital to keep that standard of looking after our children.
In 2021, the government ordered a structural integrity test of the facility. However, hospital management says there has been no real commitment to addressing the facility's needs, despite a growing demand for its services.
As the hospital turns 100 years, it means that we have buildings on those hospital grounds that are about 100 years old. We have some that are over 70 years old. In fact, there's only one building in the hospital that's older than. And because of the infrastructure, it's affected the plumbing and the electrical system of the hospital as well, the electrical system of the hospital.
100 years after its establishment, management is appealing to the general public to support the hospital's endowment fund to help meet urgent infrastructure and service needs.
We need about $7 million, to complete this building. It's possible. Renovation, it's possible. We can do it. It can be done. Where there's a will, there's a way.
To come to the aid of the hospital to help us to renovate the hospital, to make it more child-friendly, and to set up a lasting fund for the children, especially those who come in and are needy.
Calls are growing for the establishment of more children's hospitals across the country to reduce the burden on Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital. The Children's Specialist Hospital at Waja, when commissioned, is expected to help ease pressure on the century-old facility.
I mean, the number that comes here is fantastic. We do need more children's hospitals, that we do. Oh, we forgot to mention the endowment fund is also for children. Not every child that comes here can afford, the medical get their medicine and
There is need for government as well as corporate bodies to come on board and ensure the facility is in its best of state to offer the needed care for the children of this country. Sarah Apenkro, TV3 News, Princess Mary Children's Hospital, Accra.
Well, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Weekend Central here on TV3, the first bulletin for today. More news this afternoon. Micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, drive over 70% of Ghana's employment and play a key role in economic growth. But for many entrepreneurs, the path to success is anything but easy. As the country marks MSME Day, our reporter, Safa Mbonye, visits Osu, where vendors like Linda and Abigail share how they've been kept their businesses going and their dreams alive despite the daily challenges.
In Ghana, MSMEs make up 92% of all businesses, contribute about 70% to GDP, and employ over 80% of workforce. But unlike their global counterparts, only a handful have rise to become large-scale enterprises. Many remain stuck in survival mode. On the streets of Osu, Linda, a 28-year-old entrepreneur, shares how her beading business has been faring even though it hasn't been easy. Sales have been slow, but running a business requires discipline. I sell beads and keep detailed records to track which ones sell and when, helping me restock wisely and manage costs.
Any amount I met on, it was me taking record.
Other vendors also share in this perspective. I've been in this business for over 12 years. Although I struggled with management at first, I focused seriously on it for the past 5 years, and now it fully supports me.
The government should boost tourism initiatives like the Year of Return to attract more buyers, while also encouraging Ghanaians to support and promote made-in-Ghana products.
While these businesses power the informal economy, access to credit remains a major hurdle. The Microfinance and Small Loan Center, Maslock, says they are ready to support, but not without caution.
We are able to get our clients some education about bookkeeping, how to reconcile their businesses or their finances. But on the part of the client, sometimes we are not able to get into the market, how they deal with the market niche that they are operating in needs additional, training. And maybe given the resources, the center would add those things so that it will be a continuous process.
At the 2025 MSME Day celebration and exhibition, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofusui-Jare, announced a bill being developed to provide targeted support for MSMEs.
The ministry has established a business regulatory reform unit to coordinate and streamline certification and registration process across agencies using their digital platforms. To consolidate those efforts, a comprehensive bill is currently being developed. Once enacted, it will provide the BRI unit with a legal mandate to effectively support MSMEs in navigating regulatory requirements. This is not to say that it is not enforced and working. It is working all right, but we need a law to back the number of days that agencies are supposed to respond to your calls.
The UNDP also notes that while MSMEs globally encounter comparable challenges, these can be addressed through strategic interventions.
For Ghana, the market is growing and the government has put bold steps to support MSMEs, and they are tackling this support from different angles. There is always such kind of access to finance available, but not enough. So we need more commercial banks to come to the forefront. We need more development funds to come forefront to support MSMEs. Similar story with the taxation, where we want to see some tax relief, some incentives for MSMEs that will help them also to grow.
The stories of Linda and Abigail remind us that with the right policies, access to finance and skills development, our local vendors can do more than just survive. They too can grow their businesses into household brands and multi-million-dollar companies. Safa Mbonye, TV3 News, Accra.
That's a crime that thrives in silence, ripping children from their homes. forcing women into exploitation, past destroying futures. Human trafficking remains one of Ghana's most pressing human rights challenges. And as the country marks 20 years since the passage of the Human Trafficking Act, fresh calls are emerging for urgent reforms. Safwa Mbonye has more.
Human trafficking or trafficking in persons is modern-day slavery. Though figures vary, it is estimated that every year millions of men, women and children are trafficked in countries around the world. In Ghana, from child labor in fishing communities along Lake Volta to forced domestic servitude in urban centers, the reality is grim and evolving. Despite the Human Trafficking Act of 2005, prosecution rates remain low and many victims go without support. Marking 2 decades since the law was enacted, key stakeholders are calling for change.
As a government, I think 20 years on, the Act has allowed us to achieve a lot, but there's a need for us to review it and then make sure that it aligns with current trends. The issue of training and capacity building is a big one, and then sensitization, because lots of people fall into the trap of trafficking unknowingly, and there's the need for us to educate people on their rights and also how to avoid falling victim to issues of trafficking. Then the challenge too is about resources. So government needs to commit resources. We identify it as a problem, and now we are mostly dependent on donor funding. We need to domesticate this, own the problem, and then find resources, vote resources, and make sure that the releases are done on time for an effective combating of this transnational organized crime.
According to the chairperson of the Parliament Select Committee on Human Trafficking, the committee visited shelters across Accra to gain first-hand insight into the current situation and will do more in the coming days.
Recently, my committee, we went to all the shelters in Greater Accra region, almost all the shelters in Greater Accra region, to actually inspect or look at what is happening at these shelters. Very soon we'll go outside Accra, because we want to make sure that these children who are trafficked and are in the shelters are taken good care of. We will continue to advocate for the end of human trafficking.
Law enforcement continues to battle with limited resources, legal bottlenecks and underreporting, making the fight against trafficking even more difficult.
We need specialized training, capacity building of law enforcement to go deeply during interrogation and investigation to be able to unearth that these properties actually belong to the perpetrators, hence the court must confiscate them. So we need capacity of our officers and specialized training.
For civil society organizations, review of the law is a necessity.
And we feel that we should focus on enforcing the laws. And we have the law, but then we need to be able to build capacity of our law enforcement people well, our judges, our prosecutors, so that they can be able to follow the law and then prosecute and then protect people in the course of the work that they do. So I think that the law has been great, 20 years. We've seen a lot of improvement in the law.
You can only talk of confiscation of assets when you are able to identify them, that those properties actually belong to the perpetrators. But more often than not, some of the properties are not in their own names. So it will be very difficult for the court to confiscate those assets.
Safwa Mbonye, TV3 News, Accra.
Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations is calling on government to ensure the swift passage of the reenacted Act 715 aimed at strengthening protection, inclusion and equality for persons with disabilities, PWDs. They argue that the legislation will promote full inclusion and serve as a critical tool in combating discrimination and abuse against persons with disabilities.
Calls for educational inclusion have intensified as the Ghana Federation of Disability marked its National Day celebration in Ghana. Deputy Minister for Education, Dr. Clement Park, reaffirmed President John Mahama's commitment to inclusive education, stating government remains committed to playing its part in ensuring the reenacted act is passed.
Unfortunately, because of what was happening in the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection in the last 4 years before now, it affected the plan of action I believe very strongly that once we reconstitute the parliamentary caucus on persons with disability, which I chair, we will work with the Minister for Gender for us to pass the reenacted bill.
President of the Federation of Disability, Joseph Achuhu Umaji, appealed to the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection to prioritize the legislation, describing it as a significant barrier to progress if not enacted.
Everything we do must be backed by law. So if the Disability Act is not there, then it means we don't have backing of the law to do serious advocacy work. So it is affecting our advocacy campaign, and it's also affecting the fact that because we don't have the law, which will be in line with the UN Convention, it is affecting us. So that's why we are advocating strongly that the government will come to our support and other stakeholders to come to support us so that this law will be reenacted to promote the campaign to champion the cause of persons with disability in Ghana.
Stakeholders also urged the private sector to partner with government to create accessible pathways for learning and skills development for persons with disabilities. They further lamented the issue of stigmatization and discrimination, particularly against children with disabilities, and called for urgent and unified action.
And as we said earlier, we've just received information that the Divisional Executive Council of the Public Services Workers Union, that's PSWU, of the National Identification Authority, NIA, has called off its indefinite strike. On Tuesday, June 24, 2025, the Divisional Executive Council of the NIA started or declared an indefinite strike. Of course, we now hear that that strike has been called off. We're going to get more details on this particular story in our subsequent bulletins when we reach out to the chairman or the divisional chairman of the PSWU.
While you're still watching Weekend Central, the first bulletin for the day, that's June 29. We're going for a quick commercial break. We're back with more news. Stay with us. Of the Nakum and Santio are still reeling from aftermath of last month's devastating floods. While some have left everything behind, others remain clinging to hope and salvage possessions. My colleague Stanley Blair reports.
Help me! Please help me! On May 18, 2025, torrential rain devastated Nakum and adjoining suburbs after key drainage channels meant to convey water out of the community were clogged. The result was catastrophic. Water overflowed its banks and surged into homes. Flats and low-lying apartments bore the brunt of the floods, with electronic appliances, vehicles, furniture and personal items destroyed. Tragically, 2 lives were lost. Residents say flooding is an annual ordeal, but this year's episode was unprecedented. Abdul Ghaffar and his family have been residing here for over 2 decades and are still reeling from the distraction.
But the
flood waters rising to the lintel level of our buildings, we lost all our belongings. No one in the neighborhood was able to salvage anything.
A month on, TV3 returned to the community to assess the extent of damage and understand how residents are rebuilding. In the community, vast marshy lands have been filled and developed by private individuals, disrupting the area's natural water flow. Some homes still hold stagnant flood water. Debris from the incident lies scattered, while salvage belongings dry under the sun. The visible devastation has forced some residents to vacate entirely, while others who cannot afford to relocate are renovating and repairing what's left of their homes. Assemblyman for the area, Bright Afedo, expressed deep concern.
Actually, after the rains, situations have not been easy with the community people. Most of the people have also moved out of the area because of the devastating experience they've had. Most people are not able to even stand on their feet again because they lost everything actually to the flood. So now, as we speak, NADMO has not even brought any relief items to the people who were affected. Okay. It has been a general concern of the people that this is something that were not caused by they themselves.
Meanwhile, community youth have taken the initiative to desilt choked gutters in hopes of easing future flooding. However, a pedestrian footbridge across the major storm drain, vital for daily commuting, was also destroyed, making movement within the area difficult, especially for school children. With no state attention to their plight, parents have devised their own means to help their children cross the stream to school daily when no good Samaritans are available to assist. Calls for the demolition of buildings erected on watercourses have grown louder, but not all residents support the idea, citing limited housing options.
You know, those who are not feeling the heat of the flood, they are calling for it, that there should be demolition around the water bags. And those who are living near the gutter are also opposing it. So the regional minister, in her capacity, will have to make a firm decision.
The flooding in Nakum and Santor has once again exposed the dire need for sustainable urban planning and proactive disaster mitigation. As the community continues to recover, residents are calling for urgent government intervention, stricter enforcement of building regulations, and a comprehensive drainage solution to ensure such devastation does not recur. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Accra.
Now in health, inadequate medical specialists in the Upper West region is greatly impacting healthcare delivery. Our healthcare providers say that the situation is having a toll on maternal and newborn mortality. Ibrahim Ogara has more in this report.
The shortage of medical specialists in the Upper West region is severely affecting healthcare delivery. With a population of 971,773, there are only 2 pediatricians and a few gynecologists available. A pediatrician at the St. Teresa's Hospital, Dr. Haruna Mahama, is worried.
In Upper West, we currently have just 2 pediatricians. And then in Upper East as well, we have just 1. Also with the gynecologist, for instance, as well, we don't have quite a number of gynecologists in the Upper East and then Upper West. So once we are doing this, we are able to have oversight supervision on most of the facilities that are within the sub-region. So at the end of the day, we'll be able to achieve our aim of bringing down newborn and maternal mortality and morbidity rates in the regions.
To combat maternal and newborn mortality rate and achieve Sustainable Development Goal 3, the Pediatric Society of Ghana and Grand Challenge Canada have launched a digital monitoring system as part of their country innovation platform. This system enables real-time tracking of labor cases, improving referral processes, and allowing for timely interventions. Frontline healthcare workers are also receiving refresher training to enhance their skills. Neonatologist at the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adwopoku Abuache Yadon, highlight their positive impacts.
We've noticed all over the world that our children who are less than 5 years, most of them die within the newborn period. The last time we did the Ghana Demographic Health Survey, we realized that our newborns' mortality is like 17 per 1,000 live births. That means that if you take 1,000 babies, 17 of them will die. And we want to reduce that massively so that we can attain our Sustainable Development Goal 3.
A frontline nurse from a beneficiary facility expressed enthusiasm about the program.
But this program has enabled me to know that you just don't expose babies anyhow. You just don't leave them anyhow. They need the maximum care that they need so that they'll be able to grow and out of infections and they will grow well.
Overall, the pilot program will benefit 8 districts, 5 in the Upper West and 3 in the Upper East.
And now the Ghana Armed Forces says it has reinforced measures to contain the violent attacks in Boku and its exportation to Binduri and neighboring communities. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Lawrence Kweku Betanu, who revealed this during a one-day working visit to the area, said the army has managed to bring the resurgence under control and is continuing with peacekeeping efforts. Upper East Regional Correspondent Castro Senyala has more in this report.
The visit by the Army Commander to the Upper East region was the second since he assumed office as the Chief of Army Staff this year. General Betanu visited Sandema, where he told the 12th Mechanized Battalion to assess its readiness in the face of potential security threats. He also paid a courtesy call on the Sandema Paramount Chief, Nab Azagzug Azantilo II, who appealed to the military to help deal with a surge in armed robbery activities and drug abuse.
We also have been threatened by the operations of notorious armed robbers who raid and rob our innocent citizens in the course of their business operations. We however acknowledge and appreciate the presence of the police, but we think that military police cooperation would bring that disturbing situation to a halt.
General Betanu then proceeded to the 11th Mechanized Infantry Battalion in Bolgatanga and its detachment in Paga, where he commended and urged officers and soldiers to be professional and efficient in the discharge of duties.
Binduri has been in the news for some time due to some incidents of killings in the area. Based on that, we have focused some attention over here, and the battalion has actually taken the necessary step to actually re-establish and increase their footprints in the area and also extend their operational outreach. So I've just come here to see how the place is, encourage the troops to keep giving their best, and then we will support them and ensure that within the Binduri community, we maintain security and sanity in the area.
General Betanu extended his visits to the Binduri and Boku general areas to meet with the Joint Task Force to rally their support towards ongoing peace efforts. He wrapped up his visit to the region with a tour of military units in Boku and Binduri to assess the operational readiness on the ground.
The European Union, EU and the International Water Management Institute says northern Ghana has been significantly affected by climate change, with the agricultural sector bearing the brunt. Now, this declaration follows the conclusion of a 6-year research initiative led by the EU aimed at introducing a modernized agricultural system that promotes a climate-resilient future.
With an investment of 183 million euros into the program in Ghana, the EU has reaffirmed its commitment to agricultural development, particularly in the country's northern regions. The program also seeks to drive integrated impact and foster social transformation, equipping policymakers with tools to make data-informed decisions for long-term development. Head of cooperation at the EU delegation to Ghana, Massimo Mina, emphasized that the initiative aims to catalyze social change both nationally and globally.
The European Union is investing more than 180 million euros in the sector of agriculture. And there are other components which are actually still ongoing or just starting, notably in the field of irrigation. And we know how important and crucial is the irrigation, in particular in the north of the country. And at the same time, we're also working on preparing new actions for the future, notably looking at the landscape management, which is a very important aspect of our cooperation, and also some specific value chains, including not only the cocoa, where we've been heavily involved, but also the cashew.
Deputy Country Representative of International Water Management Institute, Dr. Charity Osei Amponsa, echoed this vision, noting that the EU-Ghana Agricultural Program was designed to promote inclusive, sustainable economic growth.
If we understand the way society transforms, then when we are making our development plans, we have that in mind. If we know that in the next 10 years, almost every household will be having a mobile phone, and therefore they can easily access extension services, then we have that at the back of our mind as we plan, and we make interventions that will inform what is changing on the ground. If we have mobile phones, we might not have to do the farmer-to-farmer kind of extension, but we could use mobile apps, for example, or maybe voice notes to send to, even if it is a yam farm, the farmers can hear in their language and they can quickly know what to do with the type of problems that they are having.
Over the project's duration, the research produced a range of practical tools, including an interactive gender and climate vulnerability hotspot map that covers all 261 districts in Ghana.
Now let's bring you back that story on the suspension of the strike by the Divisional Executive Council of the Public Services Workers Union under the National Identification Authority, because we have been joined by Francis Bankfame. He is the Divisional Chairman of the Public Services Workers Union, PSWU, at the National Identification Authority. Good afternoon, sir. Now tell us, why have you suspended the strike? Does it mean that your concerns have been met?
All right, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your cherished listeners. I think for now, what is important is that we have been able to secure some levels of agreement with management, where we have an agreed upon roadmap in ensuring that the 20% allowance, which is not in doubt or in contention, is paid within a given period of time.
Right, and so when are we expecting you back at work? That's the entire PSWU?
Of course, Monday, all staff are expected to be at work on Monday.
And you know you had been asking for payment of allowances. That agreement you've been talking about, are they expected to pay everything at once, or you've come to an agreement where some part payment would be made and the rest made later?
We have a roadmap to ensure the smooth payment of that allowance, and we are satisfied with that map. We are only looking forward to its enforcement. And for now, we think that there is no need for us to continue staying in home. Once we have a roadmap, let's look forward to the coming days and see that how the payments are going to be affected. Until then, we have no just cause to continue staying in the house. We shall return to work and look forward to receiving our payments in the agreed upon timelines.
Right, many thanks for your time. Francis Bankfame is the divisional chairman of the Public Services Workers Union, PSWU, at the National Identification Authority. He has been giving us reasons why their strike, that's their indefinite strike, has now been called off. That's taken us on our very second break. We'll be back with more news. Do stay with us right here on Weekend Central.
Well, you're still watching Weekend Central here on TV3 with myself and Judith Brown. Let's do some sport-related stories. Emmanuel Saki, born deaf and dumb, recently became the UBO Super Featherweight champion after defeating an able-bodied opponent, breaking barriers of what a physically challenged person can do. Billy Shen paid him a visit and tells his story.
Emmanuel Mankata Saki left the Hydrowites Event Center in Dansoman as the new UBO Continental Africa Super Featherweight champion. Born deaf and dumb, he dominated Nigeria's able-bodied Yusuf Mohammed Olalekong in 5 rounds, delivering a technical knockout. It was his 9th victory in 13 professional bouts, and the vibrant crowd, who watched Saki land punch after punch, cheered at the top of their voices as the young man received the belt. Silence remained Saki's companion, but the 25-year-old realized he had done something that many with similar conditions would consider a chimera. Saki spent 15 years in the central region with his mother, but after struggling at school, Emmanuel joined his father, Samuel Saki, in Choko. There, Emmanuel developed an affinity for boxing, often following his peers to numerous gyms. Samuel, who once pursued the sport and gave up at a young age, was initially dismissive.
I told him I couldn't box, and there's no way he could, so I won't let him. He was swimming at Choco, and I was told boxing was better as compared to swimming. So he followed the young boxer to the gym. They had some amateur fights, and they decided to fix him. And I was like, he had not trained enough to be part, but after fighting, they noticed he could fight and gave him the chance.
Saki found his home at the Warriors Boxing Gym in Kukumlimle, often taking lessons from Alfred Tete. Communicating with Saki demanded more than words. It required rhythm, repetition, and deep mutual trust. Tete crafted a visual and gesture-based system tailored to Saki's unique needs.
Sometimes, you know, I don't know how to do that sign language. He don't do any sign language. But what we do is, whatever I want him to do, I have to demonstrate it. Because I'm a boxer, I'm a former boxer myself. So I'll do it for him to follow it. If he's going to fight somebody, what I do is I'll get the opponent, the one who's going to fight with. I make sure I get his videos. I will study him. That's what I normally do. So now me and him on the training grounds, now I'll teach him.
Saki has earned the respect of his peers and elders. They view the 25-year-old not as a boxer with a disability, but a fighter with a dream and immense potential.
It
gives me joy that a physically challenged boxer has managed to win this. It encourages others with similar situations to even do better.
Next 2-3 years.
I think if he works harder, he can become a world champion in the next 2 or 3 years.
World champion.
With every punch, he shattered expectation. With every round, he rewrote what was possible. He's not just a champion. He's a symbol, not just for the deaf, not just for the differently abled, but for anyone who's ever been told they can't. In the language of courage and grit, Emmanuel Saki is fluent and the world is finally listening.
Well, Judith, it's always refreshing watching people challenge the status quo and define the odds. It brings some sort of assurance, personally.
Very interesting story about this guy, Emmanuel. We're hoping he does much better subsequently, of course. We're wrapping up the bulletin now. My name is Judith Brown. I've been doing this with.
And my name is George Queenie. In a world where you can be anything, just be kind. It costs nothing to be kind. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.